In the Black Out Loud, a CPA Australia audiocast.
How to effectively measure innovation in your business. Innovation can be one of the hardest areas to measure, and without the right framework, one of the easiest to get wrong. Begin with setting strategic goals and avoid innovation theatre, where activity does not equate to valuable outcomes. By Rosalyn Page. This article has been edited for audio purposes and has been recorded using AI-generated voices. Article begins. Finance leaders are helping to steer organisations through macro shocks like interest rates rises, the introduction of artificial intelligence, AI, and the energy crisis. In this climate, pulling back on innovation spending can feel like the safe call. In many ways, the opposite is true. Innovation is a pathway to growth that helps organisations thrive in periods of uncertainty, according to McKinsey research. However, it should not fall into innovation theatre, where activity is mistaken for outcomes. Innovation needs to be aligned with strategic organisational goals. Kaushika Jayalath CPA, Principal Solutions Consultant at Oracle and a CPA Australia board member, believes that properly measuring innovation is more than a reporting problem. It requires the right strategy and discipline. Organisations do not fail at innovation because they lack ideas, he says. They fail because they lack measurement architecture that will force decisions when push comes to shove. Where capital is reallocated, initiatives are stopped and successful bets are scaled. Beyond ROI. Organisations do not have unlimited resources to fund innovation. Funding discipline needs meaningful performance indicators. The risk is turning to what is visible rather than what is predictive. Best practice is to adopt metrics that show validated learning, scaled solutions, or measurable outcomes. Return on investment, ROI, is the obvious indicator choice, but the challenge is knowing when it should be applied. ROI is often misapplied when used as the primary decision filter for innovation portfolios, Jayalath says. Too early, and projects could still be in the learning phases. Too late, and it might not provide enough time to influence important decisions. To effectively measure performance, Jayalath suggests that metrics be drawn from 3 stages: input, process, and outcomes. These should account for financial outcomes along with non-financial drivers of long-term value. The considerations are extensive. With inputs, it makes trade-offs explicit, such as where capital and talent are deployed and not deployed. With process, it reduces uncertainty quickly to improve learning velocity over activity volume. For outcomes, it links to strategic outcomes such as growth, productivity, resilience, or trust. Anything else is theatre, Jayalath says. Critical metrics. When organisations undertake innovation, positive outcomes can often prove elusive despite good intentions and adequate funding. Experienced transformation leaders such as Joe Licandro, Executive Vice President and Global CIO at Rimini Street, see common pitfalls that derail innovation efforts. Some companies measure innovation by the number of ideas generated or by the number of activities, says Licandro, who warns that collecting suggestions without a structured methodology can lead to poor outcomes. Workshops, startup meetings, pilots, and even small seed investments create visible innovation buzz. But he suggests that finance and business leaders focus on more meaningful metrics, such as the number of new initiatives adopted, or financial outcomes, such as direct profit and loss impact. At a time when macroeconomic shocks are becoming more disruptive and more frequent, Licandro says time to market and the opportunity cost of pursuing innovation projects are critical metrics. 2 to 3 year innovation horizons used to be acceptable, but the time horizon for innovation now has to be shorter, he says. When it comes to funding, more is not always better. The right level of innovation investment depends on both industry segment and market dynamics. A lot of organisations in stagnant markets have a lower percentage of innovation investment, which is unfortunate. They are trying to use innovation to cut cost or increase operational efficiency, Licandro says. His advice for finance and business leaders is to broaden their risk appetite. This means being willing to put real seed capital into innovation and accept a high failure rate as normal. Some of the most successful Fortune 500 companies, their risk appetite allows for it. So if only 1 in 10 ideas go through, that is fine, says Locandro. When considering the overall impact of innovation efforts, it is necessary to look beyond narrow financial risk. Strategic metrics are the ability of the business to pivot and the ability to remain competitive, which do not get taken into account in a net present value or discounted cash flow analysis, Locandro says. The potential of AI. There is now another factor changing the innovation equation: AI. Organizations are seeing value from their AI investments, but CFOs and CIOs often pull in different directions, which creates gaps in enterprise value, according to Deloitte's 2025 Tech Value Survey. While AI has a lot of potential, a narrow focus on ROI and short-term wins risks a longer-term strategic advantage, Deloitte warns. Locandro agrees that AI offers speed, tactical wins, and lowers the barriers to entry and cost of innovation activity, but he worries about the trade-offs. AI could crowd out the appetite and capacity for larger, long-horizon transformational projects that need significant capital and time, he says. No matter how fantastic an innovation program looks, Locandro says it should ultimately be judged on what it has delivered to the business. At the end of the year, the question has to be, how many initiatives were adopted and what did it do to the bottom line, he says.
In the Black Out Loud.